There is a definition that you need to understand what forms are, right? And today, if we ask ChatGPT, Gemini, any AI tool, any LLM, or even if you go to books, any form tool has actually a purpose, right? It has to serve you to create and manage surveys, polls, quizzes, to enable the owners of that form to collect data, to manipulate that data, even to extract that data, see real-time results, analyze them within using built-in or third-party analytics. So that's the purpose. Any form tool today needs to do that. And a lot of organizations today, well, they use that for surveys, quizzes, polls, even build their own forms in order to collect feedback. And that's the most important thing today. If you want to know if your employees are doing well, if someone is being onboarded, how was the process of that onboarding? You want to know how the canteen food was, and so on and so on. You have numerous of ways on collecting data and manipulating that data. And any tool today, well, that's the purpose on doing that. But that being said, what does organizations look at? You know, like, okay, today within the ecosystem, within Microsoft, I have a bunch of tools. If I go outside of Microsoft, I have hundreds of other tools. But what is the real thing that people are looking in order to get the best benefit of any form app? So the first thing that we look is it easy to use and accessible to anyone? I don't need something very complex. I basically need a form where I can just ask my questions and get the response as fast as possible. Does it have a simple interface? Is it user-friendly? Does it require training? Can I just give it to any simple end user, and can that person create a form to me? Is that form accessible through mobile, through web, or do I need to install an app on my device, which is managed by my organization, which probably requires Intune or even more governance aspects? Do I see the results in real time? Can I check those results? Will I get some graphs, analytics? All those questions have to be replied by the tool in order to know what tool you should use in your organization. We love Microsoft. I love Microsoft. And we have to be honest, without Microsoft, I think I would be homeless. I would have no work, no job, no food. I would beg Sarah for a sandwich, but thank you, Microsoft. You are here to make our life great. And that's the reason why you will see on the screen now that Microsoft has multiple tools that helps you to get and collect the data. Well, you have within SharePoint the brand new forms where you can actually go and create your form and grab information and manipulate that information. Well, you also have the Power Apps forms, right? From the Power Platform, you can build an app and then build on any data source. You can build your form and get your data. Well, you have Microsoft Forms, everything that we already know about that. And finally, Forms in Microsoft Lists. A bunch of those options you get. But what does that really mean from a feature perspective? Well, every artifact within your feature from SharePoint, from lists, from Power Apps, well, they are, different. And you can see it like, do I have a mobile app? Maybe a mobile app is very important for your organization and you can't have a poll without mobile app. And then Microsoft Forms is not a tool that fits for you. If you want to embed it in SharePoint or add it as a tab into Teams, well, SharePoint Forms, well, they cannot be added. You have to add the page in order to get that. You want to have some polls in your Teams meetings, like in SharePoint. It's not possible. In List, not possible. Power Apps, well, you can do that, but it's going to require a lot of time and energy and effort to do that. You want to hide columns. You want to get email notifications, custom formatting, and so on and so on. And that list is only a few things that I think that everyone should think of before creating any form, like external access, anonymous access, out-of-the-box analytics, all those things that really no one thinks about, well, you should think about. Because at the end, when you send out a survey, a poll, up to 500 people up to 200 people at a certain time, well, you will require to get some analytics and know, okay, what was the response and what was the analytics about that? Oh, should I enable anonymous access on my phone? And as you'll see, anonymous access, well, it's only possible with Microsoft Forms. SharePoint is very limited. Lists is very limited. Power Apps, it can, but it requires a lot of licensing as well as a lot of setup in order to do that. So each tool has its own advantage as well as its drawbacks. And here is a list where you can basically see and read that. Well, next slide is, remember the things I told you about. Oh, is it accessible? Is it like easy to use? Does it have a web and mobile access and so on? I made a chart for you to make it easy to understand. And herefore, let me take my laser pointer very quickly so I can show that to you. So is it easy to use and accessible to everyone? Yes. Forms is very intuitive, very easy. SharePoint is meh, but Power Apps, on the other hand, is extremely complex. It's even technical. Like today, if you want to build a Power App, you need to know a bunch of stuff. It's not low code. There is no low code anymore. Even just designing a screen, connecting to a data source, asking your questions is complex. And I'm not even talking about the licensing purposes, right? Do I need a P1? Do I need a premium? Do I need Dataverse? All those questions, extremely complex. Is it simple? Well, yes. Forms, yes. SharePoint, it depends on how complex you want to go, as well as Power Apps on how complex you want to go. Web and mobile access, yes, yes, yes. So as Microsoft is like mobile first, cloud first, well, those three apps are definitely cloud driven, so mobile driven, and so on and so on. What's really interesting is the second chart just here. And there's the three things that people, unfortunately, never look at. What about complex scenarios? Like, okay, I gave you maybe a simple example about, oh, I want to know feedback about the canteen, about the sandwiches. Fair enough. But what happens if you have like a very complex scenario where you have to do a survey with 100 questions and the questions are dependent of each of other? Like, okay, ask question 15 only if 14 is yes and 13 is no, as an example. That complex scenarios, well, with Power Apps, it's going to be highly complex. With SharePoint, very moderate, and with Forms, extremely limited. Well, Canvas functionality, SharePoint, and Forms will never allow you, well, never, don't allow you today to do Canvas capabilities. Like I want to have a box where I can just draw stuff or bring my signature and the third line e-signatures. Well, that's not possible today. With Microsoft Forms, it's just like text. SharePoint can somehow do it, but you really need to have like the developer skills. And with Power Apps, my goodness, I would say good luck. It's possible, but you would have like a very powerful car for just, doing like 2 miles. It's way too much for what it is. So this is again a chart for you that will help you understand which tool is good from a feature or a question perspective. Now, with all that things we know, right, with the forms, one of the biggest asks for organizations is, can we do surveys, quizzes, or like feedback forms, which are public, right? I want to have my data within SharePoint, but I want that form would be go anywhere and anyone can reply on that form. And that's where the beauty of quiz come with public forms. Well, you can build very simple next finish, as we call them, and I'm going to show that to you in a couple of seconds, where you can build your form and anyone, literally anyone, can build their form and use their form in a very intuitive way. So the definition of public forms, well, it allows you to create intake forms for your lists that can easily be embedded into internet sites or shared with external users, right? So I had a discussion yesterday with Sean, which is also in the call, by the way. He is like the lead for that feature. And I was like, okay, why can't we bring that functionality into SharePoint, right? And I'm going to explain that in a couple of minutes. But the whole idea here, the use case is that you are going to be able to share the form externally. No authentication required, no sign-in required. Actually, you will just get a page, and then you can just fill in the questions, and that data will be saved for you in SharePoint. The key features, as I said, public access. You will also get the QR code for sharing, which can be embedded into a site or can be embedded into your app. It's fully responsive and it's seamlessly integrated in M365, because at the end, it's SharePoint, which is in the backend, that will save the data, and then you can just manipulate that data as you wish. Use cases, public surveys, feedback collection, event registration and volunteer signups for big events, customer service requests, online applications, intake forms, donation and fundraising, and so on and so on. Basically, every kind of use case that requires the minimum of authentication would be a perfect scenario for public forms with quiz. And on the right side, well, you'll see the minimalistic design, and I'm really in love with it because it is simple. Today, when you go to SharePoint, well, when you click on the three dots and see the menu, well, it's like 30 items just for one file. And I don't even talk about the ribbon on top, right? This is like the minimalistic design where you can just create an empty form and then basically use the templates that they give to you. And you can even modify them in a couple of seconds, and we'll see that very soon. You'll see here, if you choose for the car rental as an example, you will see it's a multi-step screen where you can even upload your image, and you can see here for a car rental app as an example, if someone has a scratch on your car, well, you can see that I can, with my Canvas app here, make a drawing and save that and submit that from a template. Forms are fully compatible with both desktop and mobile devices, as I mentioned. And then the one of the best features, as I mentioned, is that you get all the embedded code, the full page URL that you can use without signing in. Okay, that being said, let me now go cancel this, and let me now here share my screen on this, and then drag and drop my SharePoint sites. Normally, here, everyone should see in a couple of seconds, if not now, a brand new SharePoint site, right? Like everyone should have. From here, I'm going to my site contents, just here, and then I will just create a brand new list, just to show you that everything is like 100% demo, nothing is like scripted, and I'm going to really show you how that works for any user. And let's call this blank list. We'll call this webinar quiz public forms, right? And I'm going to create that. Within a couple of seconds, the provisioning engine of SharePoint will kick off the creation of the SharePoint list. And within my SharePoint page, I have now a brand new list, which comes with the by default column title. Now, if you have the quiz license, well, above in the ribbon, well, you should see the quiz apps. When you click on it, well, you will see a bunch of features, from activities to cascading lookup, column permissions, and then you have the public form just here. I don't know if anyone really used the quiz apps within our audience, but it's a phenomenal tool to manipulate data. Let's have a quick look here around first. So I have my title. Let's add a few columns more in order to manipulate that data. I have my title. Let's go for a free text. And let's see here, what can we say? Laptop. Let's see what kind of laptop we are using. And let's just add a random other text field here as well. And let's say owner of that laptop. There we go. Just here, just, you know, putting some raw data to show you that we can just play around with data with the quiz app. So the title, let's say this is 001, and then I'm gonna say that's a MacBook, just filling some data, and I'm gonna call this the owner is Goken. Another item just here, 002. Let's call that Toshiba, and then I'm gonna say that this is from Sarah, and so on and so on. Not really going in detail, but I have my list with a few columns. If I go here to the quiz apps, here you will see that the apps are going to load. And the first thing I want to check and do is the conditional formatting. I have my list and I want to say, you know what? Remember the two columns I did create? I want that you have to apply something, and that something is the front color or the background color, and that's how it's going to look like on that specific column. Well, what's the condition here for? Let's say if the laptop owner is equal to Gokun, well, I want you to put the laptop owner into the yellow background with the black font. Well, very easy. I'm setting the rule for that column. That's the color. You can always change the color very easily. You see a preview of that just here, and that's your condition. If I click on save, well, what's now going to happen is within my list, and therefore let me open my list just here. And if the demo gods are with me, and I have to do a quick refresh, I think, in order to get the data just here. There we go. Now you can see that the background color is now in yellow. Did you see, like, very quickly, within a few seconds, I can just manipulate that data and bring conditional formatting just here, right? Very, very, very easy step. Now, if I come back to my quiz app again, here you can also add a bunch of others. The one that I really love is the, and that's what we're gonna see also within the public forms, is the markup here. I can add a case where actually I can sign stuff in my item. Let's call this signature. I'm giving the name signature just here. I will create that. Just click on tab. And then you can just say who can sign. Anyone can sign. I can make this required. I can give like which column should be signed. Let's say, okay, I have a MacBook and I have to sign it. We can go for the owner laptop. We can go for the laptop itself, and so on and so on. We have the background images. We can change the color and so on. All very simple, easy details. And we can just by giving the name of the column, create that within our form. Now, what's going to happen if I come back here and click on refresh? Well, you will see that within a couple of seconds, I'll have a new column appearing just here. And if I just do a new one here, well, you will see, I maybe probably do a refresh. And you will see that the signature is just here. And if I do like new, for some reason, I have my signature here. Let me do an edit just here. Okay, for some reason I can't see it here, but as you can see, the column has been added just here. Okay, so that's very easy. The quiz apps, you can use all of them one by one. Very simple usage. You can use them and bring them all into your column. Let me do that full page, probably that's the reason why. We will come back to that later. Now we know how to use a few of them, and if we have time, I can always show you more of that. Well, what's interesting in today's case is the public forms. I want to create a form where it can be easily accessible from the outside. And now you will see that when I click on that, well, it's going to authenticate me first time, and then it's going to open me a pop-up where I can easily build my forms, especially for that list. If I click above, well, you can see I have a bunch of other lists. And if I click on Formula 1 race, you can see, oh, I already have like a few forms that I already used. So you can say that your form is attached to your list. We did use the other one. So I'm going to just come here, and it was called the webinar. So it should be the last one, webinar quiz here. And you can see there is nothing attached to my list. I'll create a new one. And that's what you see. Hey, I can go for an empty one. Let's give it a name. Quiz webinar. So that's the friendly name. Let's go for the same here, the form name, webinar title. Yeah. So this is how you see the design At the first instance, you might think, wow, it's a bit complex. But once you know how things are working, it's actually getting very easy to understand. First thing that you will notice is on the right side, the quiz public form automatically brings over the columns that you have created. So this is phenomenal from an information architecture perspective. What Microsoft is never doing at the end of the day, they will always create new stuff for you, right? If you go for SharePoint Premium, Syntax, Content AI, every time when they extract data, they want to bring that into a new column. They don't respect your information architecture. They don't respect your content types. Now you can easily build your list first and then bring that into the quiz apps. You can easily say, okay, so this is my step one, and I'm going to add a row. And you know what? In my form, I can ask for laptop, signature, title, and so on and so on. So you can bring all of your tables or your columns into that first step. You can do that. Well, very easily. If you don't like that, well, you can easily delete that from here, and boom, everything will be disappearing from the first step. Now, you might use those one, or you can create a new column and say, okay, you know what? I like to create a new text column, a Boolean column, a number column. I like to go for a date or a choice. All of that is possible for you. Let's say I'll go for the laptop on the first one here. If you click on it, well, you will see that on the right side, we left the insert column, and now we are here basically on the settings. You can give it a name, a default value, change the mode from a single line of text to multiple line of text, or even to rich text, right? Those are the very basic stuff that you can do for your column, right? I can again come to insert, and let's say I like to add the laptop owner. And here as well, if you click on it under the settings, well, you'll see all the details as well here for your column. If you tell me that this is the way to go, you can always click on the visual icon to preview to see how your form is going to look like. So this is the quiz webinar title. This is the laptop. I can fill some data and then click on submit, and that's going to be it. You can add more rows. You can bring signature as well as title below. And if you click on preview, now you will see that you have the laptop owner, you have the signature as well as the title just here as well. If you like to go further, you can also go on the next step, step 2, and click on step 2, and then add more columns here. Now our list had only 4 columns. I've used all of them. So now I can create a new column, and I could call it like, oh, okay, I like to have a number, and let's call that price. If you click on OK, well, now you have the price, and if I click on it, well, that column is going to just appear here. If you create another column, let's call it date, when purchased. There we go. You can add that when purchased just here. And if you click on it on the when purchased, as we change from text to number or something else, well, you will see that the settings pane will also change. It's not always the same. Here you can see the label. I can also go for a default value, which is then today, no, or a date, or I can simply say, hey, you want to you can also disable this, and then you will only be able to go for date only and not the time. We can all do that. So how does the experience look like when you go from step 1 to step 2? Very simple. I'm going to again preview this. Let's say laptop number is 001, Gokun. I'm going to assign this, the title. Oh, that one should be the title, right? And this should be like, let's say Dell. If I remember correctly, it should be number 3. Now the submit button changed to next. So now you can see I get the second screen, and if I click on next, well, you can see the price. I can add a price, and it will automatically tell you this is not valid. Why? Even though we didn't really bring some conditional formatting, as it's a text, it's not a text field, it will ask you for numbers. And then when purchased, remember we said we only wanted dates, and there you go. you can only choose for dates. And if you click on submit, now it's going to say you it's preview only. We can't submit anything, but when we will go live, you will see that the data will come up here. So let's say we are happy with that form. Let's say we really love that form and we want to use that form. Let's save that form for a couple of seconds. Now you will see that the form is appearing just here for us. You can see two buttons actually appearing here. If you click on the first one, well, you can get all the options as I showed in the PowerPoint. Well, you can get the full URL. And if I go here, and that's what's going to happen, and open in private and paste that specific URL, well, you will see that that form will now open into my browser. I can give it a name, right? The owner is Gokun. I can sign this, and then let's give for title, let's say 003. Next, the price, $7.99, and then just say when was it purchased, that time, and then click on submit. And then you will see now it doesn't say, hey, that was in preview, it has been submitted. If I close my form, close this, and come back to my list, just here, public forms, and now click on, hopefully not, but refresh. Do I already see? There we go. I already see the 003. It's a MacBook done by Gokun, so the conditional formatting is working, and I can see that the price is like $7.99. It's all working phenomenally well. I've filled in that value from an incognito window. I didn't have to sign in. I didn't have to provide a token, a password, of a username, but still I was able to bring in that data into my SharePoint list. Now, way more. It's actually capable of doing way more things. So let me just refresh my page in order to have like a clear cache, and then click on the quiz apps again. There we go. Now I'm getting into the quiz apps, and I'm going to click on the public forms again here. It's loading. There you go. And I'm going to open and edit my form again, just here, right? Edit form. I have my form here. Well, we've seen the insert column option, but you have to know that you have way more, and that's where it's getting extremely interesting. You get way more elements from quiz in order to use in your form. The one that I really love is the signature line. You get all the options, right? I inserted it. The right pane changed from insert column. It went to settings. I can change the label. I can add a background color. If you have backgrounds, corporate backgrounds, you can give it a prefix. You can make, you know, like the width, the height, make it full screen, and so on and so on. You can add signatures. What more? Well, you can add canvas where people can just draw stuff. You can add a separator, like a line. You can even add something that I really love is the accept terms, right? And you can change that. If I go on settings, well, you cannot continue the form if you did not accept the terms and conditions. So you can add your text, make sure that the people understand what they're signing, and then bring that into your form. If you like it, let's say I love it, what you will see, laptop owner. Now I have a real signature pane, not the one from SharePoint, which will not work, by the way. You only can fill in, but you know, the elements from quiz allows you to sign it. I have my canvas where I can just draw, change color, right? I can here as well change this, and I can just say, okay, signing as Gokun, okay. And it will add automatically my signature into that phenomenal element. How fantastic is this, right? I was surprised on how well this was done. And then you just click on I have agreed, it becomes green, and then only you can continue within your form. So that element segment is just fantastic in order to add all those controls. On step 3, you can have step 3. I can add a row, again, come insert element, and I can add the files, right? I can drag and drop files into my list item, add a new row, here, add multiple rows, and again here, insert element, well, you can go for the empty HTML text cell, and so on and so on. So it is quite impressive in order to get data from a text field, Boolean, number, date, and so on and so on. But that's not the limit. You can either go for the e-signature line, for the canvas, and so on and so on. So you can really build powerful forms in order to get those. Let's say I'm very happy with that. I'm going to save it. The first version will be erased. And now I have another one just here. I have the link I showed you, but you also have this one, the embedded code. You can use that code into your public-facing websites. You can use that code to use that form into WordPress or into any other kind of website and grab information without token, without username, without password, and all that data would be actually coming to you in your SharePoint list. That's the experience when you want to build something from scratch. But don't forget, as Microsoft is doing, Quiz is also providing to you some of those templates, a contact form, job application, car rental, and job safety. One of them that I really love is the car rental. And when you click on car rental, well, by default, it will add you a bunch of fields and columns, and you will see like, oh wow, first name, last name, email, phone number, how did you hear about us, and so on and so on. And I can see it is a multi-screen, so you get the customer info as well as the rental. Let's see if I do a preview how it looks like. Okay, I have my customer info. Let's say I like it, Goken or Zipsy, my email. By the way, if you have any questions about Quiz and public forms, you can use that email to contact me. That's going to be my phone number. How did you hear about us? Event. Let's say MID. I have no idea about what member ID is, so I'm going to just do something like that. And then let's say that's my booking ID. I click on next. And wow, this is fantastic. Like, oh, I can easily say, oh, it has a scratch here. It has a scratch there. It has a scratch here. It has a scratch there. And then you can just do, you need insurance, yes or no, and then just a Boolean where you can choose stuff, and then you can easily submit this to your SharePoint list. So let me create that and see how the experience is in the backend when you will use that. I'm going to leave that just, or you know what, I could have used that basically. Car rental, I'm going to save this. It's going to be saving, but the issue is, if I open this, well, you will see that there is a red toggle here that says some of the items are missing in the source, which is normal, right? Remember, those are the columns that we created or did create through clicking the new column. A lot of those we did not create. So we have to ask Quiz and say, hey, look, those following are missing. First name, last name, email, and so on and so on and so on. Do you like to create them? If you click on yes, well, now Quiz will create all the columns in the backend and all the reds will disappear. And now basically, as we didn't do a real change in our form, well, the save is not there, but we did create the columns in the backend. Okay, now if I open the embeds and get the URL and come here, well, now I have that car rental experience. And let's add something unique. Let's say Goken, right? Oschivci, Goken at neoxy.be. Let's say this is the phone number. How did you hear about us? Event. Let's say this is the member ID. Let's say this is the booking ID. Click on next. Yeah, probably. There you go. Click on next. Let's say I have some issues here. A serious damage there, a serious damage here, and a serious damage there. I was a very bad driver, and I will submit. In a couple of seconds, it will take all the info and say you're all set, save drive. I'm coming back to my list, just here, and we will see how it looks like. Within a couple of seconds, well, the Quiz public forms should be able to create all those columns, remember? The need insurance, the booking ID, the member, and so on. And here, well, you will see that there is a new item being added into my list. If I click on that item, I should get all the items, all the responses I did just here. Well, you also get the elements from the previous test. But what's interesting to me is this one, the card drawing PNG. If I click on it, well, you will see that the drawing I made within the canvas was saved directly into my list item. And then that's a real use case, right? I can use any of those canvases, bring a background image, and then just use that one in order to make my list more intelligent, more insightful, and I have all the information I needed into my list. I had a talk for 40 minutes. I tried to explain you what the quiz apps are, and then just give you a broad introduction about the quiz forms. We created one from scratch. We inserted some columns, we inserted some elements, and I also showed you how the templates are working. It's pretty straightforward, going very simple. You can create as much as forms as you like. And again, from here, if you edit your form, you can add as much as steps as you like. Like if I go for 5, 6, 7 steps and do a preview, you will see that all the steps are wonderfully designed just here. Add the columns you'd like to for grabbing information, and then save that info into your SharePoint list.